Okay, so what happens when a doctor, someone who trusts only in pure science, comes face to face with a terrifying supernatural curse? Today, we are diving deep into the chilling plot of the South Indian horror flick Bhootiya Ashram. It's a story that puts cold, hard facts up against some ancient, terrifying beliefs.
And really, the whole film boils down to this one central question. What happens when the world of science smacks right into the world of the supernatural? So to get into that, let's start with the main conflict, reason versus superstition. And we're going to meet the character who's caught right in the middle of it all. So on one side, you've got Arti Verma. She's a super smart medical student, a university chairperson, and she believes only in what she can see and prove, science and logic. And then on the other side, you've got her father, a man who is completely immersed in tradition and has this deep-seated fear of old curses. This clash between them, yeah, that's pretty much the spark that lights the fuse for this entire story. And Artie, well, she makes her position crystal clear. Her friends find her at a temple and she immediately tells them, "Whoa, hold on, I haven't suddenly started believing in all this." She's only there because it's her mother's death anniversary and she wants to make her dad happy. It's an act of love for her family, not an act of faith. Of course, her friends, especially this one guy, Jitu, who is a total believer in ghosts, they see an opportunity here. They pretty much dare her to put her scientific principles to the ultimate test. They say, go to this mysterious ashram, a place that's rumored to be a gateway for the living to talk to the dead. And that leads us right into our second section, the ashram's secret. So RT reluctantly agrees to go, and they show up at this really strange place that, let's just say, operates on a set of rules that you are not gonna find in any of her medical textbooks. So once inside, RT's journey into the supernatural kicks off. She's guided through a seance, the whole deal. They lead her into a dark room, tell her to put her hands on this old sacred book and just focus all her thoughts on her mother who passed away. It's kind of the perfect setup to challenge someone who thinks none of this is real. And then a voice starts speaking, and it claims to be her mother. To prove it, it reveals this incredibly specific secret, something only her family would know. It describes a bracelet with 9 gems that her mother gave to her father and says it's hidden away in a jewelry box. And you know what? The test works. Artie races home. She finds the bracelet exactly where the voice said it would be, and you can just see her entire world of scientific certainty starting to crack. But the big question is still hanging in the air. Was that really her mother? Well, the film gives us a chilling answer almost right away. The second Artie touches that bracelet, a massive swarm of bats descends on the temple. And that is not a coincidence. It's a terrifying omen. She didn't contact her mother. She unleashed something way, way more sinister. That one single act sets off this horrifying chain reaction, which brings us right to Section 3, the shadow of Akashganga. The terror just spirals out of control almost immediately. It starts at her college, where a cadaver in the anatomy lab literally comes to life. Then they start seeing ghosts on the road. The danger just gets more and more personal, more and more violent, until it all climaxes in the brutal murder of her uncle. They finally get some answers from a spiritual leader, Swamini Devi. And the truth is, mind-blowing. The entity haunting Arti isn't her mother at all. It's a vengeful spirit named Akashganga. Turns out, she was a woman murdered by Arti's ancestors, and her rage is all tied up with the circumstances of Arti's own birth. So all of this escalating horror, it's all building towards one specific, prophesied date, a night when supernatural power is at its peak. And that brings us to Section 4, the new moon night. July 31st, the date that was foretold for Arti's death. It's finally here. Right in the middle of her uncle's funeral, the possession becomes complete. Akashganga starts speaking through Arti, and her voice is just filled with this burning hatred. She finally reveals her motive, just raw, unfiltered revenge because they burned her alive. In a total act of desperation, her friends rush her back to Swamini Devi for one last-ditch effort, an exorcism. What follows is just a chaotic, violent ritual, a spiritual battle for Arti's soul. The ritual reaches its climax, but victory comes at a huge cost. And that brings us to our final section, the end of evil. And then, in this huge flash of divine power, the ritual succeeds. The evil entity is cast out. Artie collapses, completely exhausted, but she's finally herself again. She's free. But that victory required the ultimate sacrifice. The immense strain of the exorcism was just too much for Swamini Devi, and she gives her own life to save Artie's. Which brings us right back around to our central question. Archie, the hardened skeptic, is alive only because of a spiritual ritual she once would have dismissed as total nonsense. So what do you think? Did science win here? Or was it just forced to accept that there's a power out there that it just can't explain?